I really, really enjoyed this interview with Troy because the change in this dude has been phenomenal from when we first started working with each other. When he first came to work with myself and our crew at JCF, Troy wasn't sure if he wanted to be here anymore. And when I mean be here, like be alive on this earth anymore. And now he's into a stage where he's just going onwards and upwards in every single area. He used to work his ass off. He couldn't say no to anybody. His relationship was in tatters. His health was in tatters, both mental and physical. And now he's on that trajectory upwards where every single day he's getting better bit by bit by bit. So if you feel anxious, you feel depressed, you feel like you're dedicating your life to work and not getting much back from it, if you feel like your relationship isn't where you want it to be, if you just feel like you've lost your mojo and the wind's been taken out of your sails, watch this interview, because I think that you'll get a really cool perspective and you'll see how you can get yourself out of this position where you're at right now and you can absolutely dominate. Everything's just getting better. Everything's getting easier.
Yeah. Look, it's I spoke to Christian last night. We're just obviously going through sort of, when I first sort of started reading your posts on the Facebook website one night, and just sort of started following through with obviously your background and your clientele. And I sort of kept reading through. As I said to Christian, I said, look, I don't get too excited about Facebook because there's a lot of fucking bullshit on Facebook. So I kept reading your posts, and then the night I was laying in bed feeling like fucking death, one of your posts, was what fucking hit real close to home. So that's the night I flicked you a text, and we went from there, man. So,
which post was that?
Probably about what you're struggling with in life. I've probably got it here somewhere, fucking from here. I've got my text message from you when you first sent me the link.
It's a while back now.
About 18 months ago, man, thereabouts.
It's been a big journey for you, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, as you know, Christian we was going through a few series of questions last night, and he sort of, your progress and a few bits and pieces that we did on, not last night, 2 weeks ago, when we were getting prepared for our conversation today. And he just sort of said, we'll recap, go through where you were, what you were feeling 18 months ago, as to where you are today. But, he did in a nutshell, James, if you'd asked me that same question on the evaluation from when I first started, where I'd be in 6 months, I'd probably be dead.
You reckon?
The way I was travelling, man. If I didn't get myself some help when I needed it, I was, on my, about myself, about my journey, pretty much I was a sinking ship.
Well, how would you describe yourself 18 months ago before you started working with us?
Fucking train wreck, man.
In what way?
Mental health was fucking terrible. I wasn't sleeping at all. Workload was absolutely horrendous. I had obviously lost my father in that period, lost my wife and kids 4 weeks after that. And then in that same period, I was following a young fella on the way home from work one night on his motorbike and hit a guardrail. And pretty much I had to do CPR on him for probably 50 minutes in a 45-degree day. And poor bastard within 3 minutes was dead. Just fucking bled out like no tomorrow. Tried to push it all down. Obviously, the passing of my dad sort of hit home pretty hard. But I just had to get up and just keep fucking working, man, going to work and putting this new plant together that we built about 3 years ago. So my title is I'm production manager, maintenance manager. And basically, we were commissioning and building this place when all of that fucking fell apart. 12, 14, 20 hours a day on site. I'd be lucky to sleep an hour a day, if that.
What effect did that have on you?
Destroyed me. Fucking destroyed me. I went from sort of, 70, between sort of 75 and 78 kilo back to about 58 I was. So I wasn't well. Mental fatigue, anxiety, stress, and pretty much, just trying to bottle all that up all the time, James, and just getting on with it, pushing it all down. Pretty much ended up with severe depression and anxiety as a result of, obviously not dealing with the trauma.
Why didn't you deal with the trauma to start with?
Pretty much just pushed it aside. you know, it is what it is. I've got to move on and keep moving forward. But, you know, I never really sort of worked through any of the result of what it was doing to me until it was, I guess, too late.
But if we look at that, right, like that's and I'm not singling like you out, but like it's a typical man thing to do, right? We always just say, "Nah, I've got too much other stuff on. Doesn't matter that I'm anxious. Doesn't matter that I'm not sleeping. Doesn't matter my dick doesn't work anymore. Doesn't matter like that my whole body's broken. I got to push it all to the side. I'm not going to deal with any of this emotional stuff at all." It's like, why do you feel like in your case that you chose to do that? Because it is, let's be honest, it's a pretty fucking stupid way of doing it when you compare yourself to now after you've actually gone and you've dealt with your stuff and you're like a totally different human. Why did you choose? Like, why didn't you reach out for help straight away? Why didn't you get a hand? Why didn't you get a lift up?
Oh, it's exactly what you said, James. It's that fucking the male mentality of, you know, it'll get better. I'll be all right tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. And yeah, unfortunately, depending on what, you know, your own personal circumstances are, they don't go hand in hand. And pretty much I just fucking drove myself that far into the deep, dark hole that, you know, I got to a point where it was like, well, fuck, you know, I'm done with this shit. Like, if I don't do something about it now, like, I don't know how much more I can fucking continue to you know, to deal with every day when, you know, I didn't really want to be here, to be honest. I'd had enough of it all. You know, obviously, if I didn't have my kids, James, and look, it is pretty selfish. You know, I've had a lot of suicides in my family, and I've always had that thought process that, you know, it's an easy way out. It's weak. You leave so many people behind to deal with all the bullshit that's, you know, from you doing what you've done. And look, you know, until, as I've said to Christian many times, until you're actually faced with that, feeling that in life, you know, being judgmental of people that commit suicide and obviously take their lives, until you're actually in that position and feel that way, you know, I've even changed my thought process on being judgmental of, you know, people that just end their life through suicide. But depending on the people's circumstances, you know, I see it a lot different today, James.
What was it like for you to be looking suicide in the face?
It was fucking tough, man, because, you know, normally I don't let a lot of things bother me, but, you know, I mean, prior to, I guess, reaching out, James, for some help, probably 12 months prior to actually getting help and talking to you guys, I'd been to see my doctor and basically, you know, let him know that I wasn't sleeping, fucking, you know, I might eat once or twice a day, you know, wasn't hungry, you know, just my heart rate would just, you know, I'd be sitting down doing something on the computer, the next minute my fucking heart would go through the roof, I'd be sweating my guts out, and it's just like, what the fuck's wrong with me, you know? I don't understand what's happening to my body. And, you know, at that time, the doctor said, I'll write you straight off and, you know, go and get some fucking, take a break. And I said, well, look, I probably should have, James, for my own personal health, but, you know, being the position I'm in and the title that I hold here, sort of felt like my fucking hands were tied at the same time. There was no support network from work. It was basically, I just had to fucking get in and get the job done and get the plant up and running. But, you know, they got what they want, James, and, you know, as a result of it, I've lost everything. You know, I wasn't there for my dad when he was sick. You know, my kids, when my wife needed me at the time to, you know, be a part of the, you know, being a father for my two young kids. And, you know, I mean, 3 years in now, the plant's running, it's pretty successful. The business has got what they want, and I've lost everything for it. So I don't have.
How do you feel about that?
Anymore. I've got a lot of resentment of, you know, for the business with no support structure. And obviously I'm pretty dark on myself for, you know, putting my family aside for a workplace. You know, I can't get that back now, James. It's gone.
Why did you decide to put work first?
Well, I wouldn't say it was I won't say it was a priority, James, that I've made a decision to put work first. It was, you know, trying to get that work-life balance of, you know, building, design, construct, commission a new facility. Look, I wasn't ready, I guess, for what was put towards me. It was fucking huge, man. It's the time frame, building the place, commissioning it, training all the staff, and basically having myself here in the business was the only one that's, you know, was trained in this industry. They made all the other staff redundant, my old team, and basically I'm the only one up here with any experience. So it made things, that alone, as well as everything else happening in the personal life, it was a fucking train wreck.
Why'd you stick around with the business?
So I've been waiting a long time, James, for this new plant. When I first started with business 20 years ago, we were building a new facility back then, but it was just always postponed. And there's been some very highs, obviously, involved in this as well. James, I got to go to Europe. By our running equipment here, I was sent to Switzerland and around Zurich, Germany, and a few other places to obviously learn School of Technology for our equipment. So I spent a month in Europe doing all of that in 2018. And back then, everything was fucking peaches and fucking roses, mate. It was gold. You felt like you were really someone within the business. But when it came time to turn dirt and get this plant running, it was just like, see you later. We'll fucking leave you to it, sort of thing. And yeah, look, I got through it, James, but it took a big toll on my health, my mental state of mind. Everything. Sleeping pattern was absolutely fucked. I reckon when I first come to you guys, I reckon I'd be lucky to sleep an hour a night.
How was that?
It's not very good, man. Like, the thing that I don't even know what kept me going, to be honest, James. The lack of sleep, lack of food. The only thing that sort of kept me going was basically the workload I had. That there was no fucking time to stop.
Mm.
So, but yeah, look, I'm pretty dark on myself, James, to be honest. There was obviously a lot of things I should have listened to my wife at the time. Her concern for me, my health, and what it's doing to the home life. But leading up to this, I did say to her, look, this is going to, there'll be a couple of years of some pretty testing times. I said, but once it's up and running and we're done, it'll fucking run itself. It'll be smooth. I'll be back to that, go and do my 8 hours, get in the car, go home, come home to the family. I said, but, we're just going to hang in there, It'll get better. But, yeah, look, it's obviously, a few issues here and there prior to the marriage breakdown. But, look, I got to a position, yes, mentally, I guess, James, not that I was thinking it, but, I got to a point where I didn't care no more. I just sort of said, well, fuck, if you want to move out, just go, sort of thing. But, back where I was in that, where my mindset was back then, it was, I didn't know how much longer I was going to be around or wanted to be around. You're probably better off my wife and kids not being anywhere near me, in this sort of state of mind. But yeah, look, I was hoping that we would, be able to work things out and get back on track and, bring my family back together. I've obviously got some help and still continuing to get support. Sleeping pattern, as I was saying to Christian last night, it's fucking good as gold, man. Not having any trouble sleeping anymore. Obviously, the supplement program that I started on, James, still on most of those. Not having to take melatonin anymore. So yeah, look, sometimes I sort of go up and down in waves here and there, depending on what's going on in the personal life. But yeah, not normally now. Generally, I just take the supplements if and when I'm training. But I've obviously been struggling pretty bad with a fucked left knee. But of late, I've been told not to run, not to do this, not to do that. And I've tried every other fucking exercise and bits and pieces that hasn't done fuck all for me. And I've started running again. Obviously, cross trainer doesn't play up. But when I run on grass, pavement, concrete, whatever, then I normally pay the price. But over the last couple of months, I've been running probably 7 to 10 Ks a week with a couple of days break in between. And
it's not a bad
legs holding up, man.
You take that. Well, so like when you went to sign up with us, right, and we had that first chat and we were messaging, did you have any hesitations before you did sign up? Did you have anything saying that you shouldn't do it, any doubt demons?
Not really, James. I wanted to look at a different support network. As I said to Christian, I reckon I went and saw, when I was at my lowest, 3 counsellors. But 3 different counsellors. I left 3 of their offices and I walked out of there thinking, what the fuck is all this about? Like, I don't
Can
feel
you run me through that?
Basically, the way I feel when I left there, James, is you're just another number. You're not, there's no personal connection. It was pretty much, it was a diagnosis of whatever the counsellor psychologist believes that you're struggling with and what they can do to help you. But when I left there, I'm thinking, okay, it's just typical here's a fucking packet of Smarties and, on your bike and coming back to see me in 2 weeks' time. It's like,
well, how does that compare to what you're doing with us and with Christian?
Well, there's a sense of value, Christian. James, from Christian as well. There's more personal interaction where, you would expect that from a high-profile counsellor or a psychologist. But I didn't get that from three of them. Obviously, as you're probably aware, they're not the fucking cheapest people to go and see. But, I just felt the fact of all they wanted to do was medicate me straight away without even, digging deep and what's caused you to be where you are today. And you've obviously had, a bit of trauma and this and that. But I said, look, it's a combination of a lot of different things that have built up over a period of time. And then all of a sudden, you're trying to push it down like a fucking volcano about to erupt. And it was just one day, James, that I fucking lost it. And yeah, that was it. Because I was basically to a point where, if I don't go and do something about it soon, how my mental state of mind was at the time and just how I was feeling physically, it was just like, this is not sustainable. Like if I can't get past this, well then, I'm going to have a fucking, whatever time frame I've got left on Earth, it's not going to be great.
Well, why didn't you just medicate it? I mean, that's what a lot of people do. A very, very large number of men every single year go onto antidepressants, antipsychotics, all that sort of stuff, sleeping pills, yada, yada, yada. A lot of us take those drugs. Why didn't you just want to go in and just take the easy route, as we would call it, right? The short-term easy route, the long-term hard route, and just pop a few pills?
Look, I'm not a big one for the medication. There are a lot of good stuff out there. I've got a really good doctor though that I've been seeing for quite a long time, and I've spoken. Obviously, I go and see him probably every 2-3 months now. It's not as frequent as it was. When I started seeing him, I was having a lot of issues with the body, fucking, chest pain, kidney pain, just out of the blue. These, I guess my organs, obviously, due to how I was, unhealthy, no sleeping. There was just so many different things physically going on inside of me that, normally I'm fit as a bull. Nothing fucking bothers me. I just get on with it. But I was just, I was having all sorts of different issues internally that I couldn't explain. So I see the doctor and basically he just said straight out, mate, you're not sleeping, your diet's terrible. You're obviously, you're severely stressed, anxiety, you are suffering from depression. This is obviously an onset of, your body's trauma and how it's trying to deal with it. But I had all the tests done, kidney tests, fucking heart tests, blood tests, all that sort of shit. The blood tests are at that stage, most of the vitals were very, very low due to, I guess, bad health. My dietary intake was fuck all at that time. But yeah, look, once I started talking to you guys, yourself, the nutrition plan, and, for probably 10, 11 months last year, no drinking, nothing, fucking just got onto the diet, was on that, training 3 days a week, and pretty much, mate, from, in that first 3 months, I noticed a massive difference in just the way I think, what comes out of my mouth, and my sleeping pattern starting to come back. Quality of life and actually, wanting to fucking get outside and go and do something, whereas before, and I'm not really a homebody, but, come the weekend, I just didn't want to fucking leave the house. Just couldn't, I didn't want to be around people. It was a struggle. And, you think yourself, fucking why? What's brought all this shit on? But look, it's been hard for me to, I guess, acknowledge that I needed help, James, for, probably, if I had to probably seek some help maybe 2-3 years prior to that, I probably wouldn't have been in the position I got to. But
how do you think it'd be different if you came to us 2-3 years prior and we sorted you out the same way we've done now? How do you think things would be different for you?
I guess, to be honest, James, the earlier on I probably would have got to it, my thought processes and my action would have been a lot different to where they were and where they ended up prior to seeking help. Because I got to a point where I was just so fucking careless, not as in a disrespectful manner towards anyone, but it was just like I just didn't give a fuck no more. I just, there was nothing left in the tank. The physical and emotional side of things, and then obviously, I guess the hardship I put on myself for failing, my marriage. I won't say I failed as a father, but it is a failure of some sort because my kids aren't with their dad anymore. So there's a lot of things when it first happened, that hit home real hard. Like my dad passing away didn't hit me straight away. It was probably a couple of months later when the true reality of it is you ain't coming back.
Yeah.
You actually wake up to it one day and think, well, fuck, I can't talk to him anymore. He was cremated, so there's no burial site. There's fucking, he's gone. There's nothing left other than your memories. But it's still hard. It's still fucking hard to stomach. But yeah, look, obviously as time's gone on now, I was at the Christian last night. March next year, myself and my wife, we've been separated for 3 years now already. But yeah, look, it's just, I was at the Christian last night as well. It's, probably time for a bit of closure too on that end, so I can concentrate more on myself as well.
What sort of role has Christian played in your life?
Look, the support network that Christian's given me, anything I ask of Christian and the support network, whether it's training, supplementation, conversation. We basically, not that long ago, we've started a summit of, pretty much where I was sort of just, pondering around down the bottom of this, this summit where I'm just, I might take a couple of steps up the hill and, I'm fucking back down again, just, wandering around in circles thinking of fucking where my life's going to head to. I never really had goals as well, James. I'd live fucking day to day, week to week sort of thing. Never had anything planned for the future, whether I wanted to take a holiday or, take the kids somewhere. There was just the total thought process of where I was at before coming to you guys. There was fucking none. I was still functionable to do my job, but, personal life, social life, the fun times, the kids, just the thought process wasn't there because I was that fucking mentally drained and, physically, emotionally unwell. And I think that was probably the hardest thing as well, James, is actually acknowledging that, when someone says you got a mental health issue, it's just like, fuck, hang on a minute, no, I'm all right, I'll get through this. But it's probably a good thing as well that, your foundation, James, also backs men's mental health rather than just, the image of, I want to be a bodybuilder or I want to fucking, I want to look $1 million because, I said to Christian, I played amateur league footy for nearly 25 years over here in South Australia. Played for the SANFL, Central Districts in Port Adelaide. So I've been always fit, trained, and healthy diet. Never, don't mind a beer here and there, but it was not until late in my sort of late 20s sort of thing before I started really sort of hanging back and getting on the piss with the boys. But as a young fella, all that was put aside, the drugs and all the crap. I never sort of went anywhere near it, due to obviously my health and fitness, is what I was always trained to do. But even, in that state of mind as well, having someone to not so much push me, but, give me something to focus on. And, once I started seeing results again, then comes back that confidence. So, your mental health, anxiety, stress, your fucking depression, as you know, James, the confidence is gone. You don't have any confidence. You don't have any, you're just a fucking mess, an absolute mental mess inside. And, obviously it opened my eyes when obviously a lot of close people were saying to me, Troy, like, you're not the same anymore. Like, you got to go and get some help, man.
What did they see as different about you? Like how in your friends' eyes and the people closest to you, what did they notice?
Just how short I was, James, all the time. Very, not blunt, but there was no enthusiasm. I guess a lot of them would say to me, we don't see you smile anymore. You don't laugh, you don't joke, you don't, you just, I guess if you look at it, it's just fucking miserable. But, my persona, I wasn't seeing that and the way I was coming across to people. But obviously, the staff here noticed it as well as obviously senior management, you know, and others in the business that have known me for a long time. Obviously during commissioning, whatever else, just, you know, seeing what they're used to seeing from me, you know, my weight, my physical appearance, as opposed to what they come to see me like after, you know, 12, 18 months of, you know, trying to get this plant off the ground. It's like, well, fuck, what happened? I said, well, it's fucking this place. It's done it. I said, you know, I've obviously had a few other bits and pieces go on, but yeah, look, I was just trying to get on with it, James, and just, you know, move forward and hope that, you know, life would bounce back and you know, come back on track to where it needed to be. But yeah, it wasn't coming back, man. And, you know, I was going deeper and deeper into that bloody dark hole of, you know, I just didn't want to do anything. I had no goals, no motivation. And, you know, normally, you know, you got to tie me down to a fucking chair to, you know, sit down and have a rest. But now it's just like, you know, I'm a lot better than what I was, that's for sure.
Totally. So what are the biggest changes you've noticed in yourself since working with us and working with Christian?
Obviously, I guess the analysis of obviously day-to-day life as well, James, you know, what's important to me and what's not. You know, and obviously not, you know, what I can't change or control, you know, there's no point, you know, having that mental side of things just hanging over your head all the time. You know, if I can't control it or I can't change it, well then, you know, get on with it. You know, there's not much you can do about it. With Christian as well, it's, you know, we've always had that sort of, you know, the back and forward of, you know, where we're at with life and, you know, what we can do, having some goals and having some focuses, you know, you know, where do I see myself now in you know, 6 months' time? What are you going to do on your holidays? You know, basically it's just getting that thought process back, you know, as to what becomes more important to me, you know, moving forward and get myself, you know, my social life back on track. Maybe, you know, I don't know, in the future, not that it's on the cards, you know, maybe a new relationship. But, you know, like 12 months ago, if you ever said, you know, a woman relationship, it was like, fuck that. No way, man. Not even interested. So, but, you know, I guess, you know, things are a little bit different now. You know, probably 2-3 months ago, it's obviously in my notes with Christian that I had it on there maybe to meet a new partner, and then I thought, no, fuck it. So I said to take that off. You know, that's not something I'm going to focus on. I look at it in one of those areas, James. If you try and go looking for it, you know, 99% of the time it don't come. So, you know, if it's when I'm ready, and, you know, when you know, all the COVID fucking bullshit settles down, when I'm out, you know, and socialising again, you know, it'll probably happen.
Well, so now you have direction, you have goals, you have things that you're actually moving towards, which is the start of it. In terms of how you feel, how do you feel different? How do you act differently? How do you think differently to how you did before?
Oh, look, there's a lot of things now, James. I don't let things get to me like they were. Like I was really fucking, everything would wind me up. You know, I took everything, I wore everything on my shoulders. And obviously didn't let anyone know that internally I was a fucking, you know, sinking ship. But yeah, look, it's just the mental side of things of what I am able to do and control, and what I cannot control and change. It's separating those two divisions of what I can achieve, what I can't, and what I can't achieve. If I can't do it, then fuck it. It is what it is, you know. Move on to something else.
And what effect has that had, that change in mindset? What effect has that had on you?
I guess not so much the care factor. It's just I'm trying not to let things overrun me or overrule me in that thought process. And the same thing too, but, you know, feeling like my hands are tied, that I'm accountable for every hour of the day of this plant. Is, you know what I mean, I'm obliged to, you know, if the fucking plant goes down, you got to stay here until it's running. Well, no, I don't. When my time's up, it's time for me to go. So, you know, that's where a lot of things have changed as well now. And, you know, if I do argue with my manager, it's, well, you know what, mate, I've done my time. My time's up for today. It's the work-life balance that I need to get back. And I'm going to go and do something that I want to do. I want to go, you know, fucking go for a walk, go in the gym, go for a run, not fucking getting home at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, been on the road at, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, they get what they want, and fucking I just keep going. My health goes backwards. So I said,
But
no,
it's stupid for them too. And it's very short-sighted for anyone to want you to work that much, because a burned out employee is not an effective employee. They're not an efficient one. I mean, how much more work would you get done now in an 8-hour day than what you did before?
Oh, yeah, a lot more productive due to the thought processes, James, because, my brain's actually working now, not just fucking scrambled eggs trying to think, well, fuck, what do I got to do next? There's problem there. It's like, well, fuck me. But now it's just like, yeah, okay, they need to do that, go and do that, fix that, whatever. And on my day's up, man, it's time to go home and do something different.
Boundaries are a game changer, man. I'm glad that you're putting them in, because like when you actually have those boundaries and they're set and they're concrete, everything becomes so much easier afterwards. So much easier.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So, and look, we didn't have a lot of structure here. It was just fucking fighting fires, putting out spot fires all the time. There was no real set plan. And even that, even my life, my personal life, there was fucking no structure. Like I'd get in the car and leave, and then, fuck, what do I do? Well, actually, I need to go home and sleep. But, the mind was, during the build, look, obviously I went downhill pretty quick, in such a short period of time. I was probably fucking nearly lost 20 odd kilos during that time too.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. So, I think a lot of my health issues were related to, obviously not eating, not drinking, no diet, dehydrated. Yeah, it was not a good combination, man. And then, obviously the wife, the dad, the young fella, and that just topped it. Fucking, and out come the volcano, mate. She finally erupted, and then, yeah.
Have you heard the expression feather brick bus?
No.
It's like when you're doing something stupid, right? And you're working too much, and you're not sleeping, and you're not eating well, and you're not looking after your mental health and whatnot. You get a feather and it tickles you, right? And if it tickles you, you'll get anxiety, you'll get a bit of depression, you'll get feeling a little bit shit. And if you don't listen to the feather, which is tickling you, you'll get a brick to the back of the head, and that knocks you down for a bit. Maybe you'll start spewing. Maybe you'll get that heart going bonkers like you had. It was going a million miles an hour all of a sudden, and you'll get these scares, which will happen. And if you don't then listen to the brick, then you get a bust, and that one fucking hurts. I'll tell you that. That's your that's your wife leaving you. That's you sitting back like looking at the noose. That's when you're thinking about killing yourself. All those sorts of things. It's like feather brick bust. It never just straight away goes to a bust. There's always a lead up to it, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then unfortunately, it was as the Christian, I said, it's like a ship with a few holes in it that's slowly sinking in time, but then, all of a sudden you hit a fucking iceberg and you're going downhill real quick.
Totally. Well, so what would you recommend for guys who are in your position, or who are where you were, who are looking, who are feeling anxious, depressed, maybe their heart's not good, they're working a shitload, dusting up with the missus, having stuff going on around them, they're not doing terribly well. What would you recommend they do?
Oh, look, the biggest thing I've probably taken out of all this, James, is, don't try and be the fucking macho man and, think that things are going to get better overnight or just with a click of a finger without actually not putting anything into practice to make any changes to yourself, your life, your habits, even as I said, as a Christian, my diet also back then as well was pretty bad, but I was drinking fucking heavy, drinking, and that didn't help. Obviously, I turned to the drinking pretty heavily because it would put me to sleep. But as you know, it's not a good cocktail.
So where do you start taking action, right? Because here's the thing, you said it yourself. It's like on Facebook, you don't pay much attention to the info there because most of it's bullshit, right? And then you've tried counselors, you've tried multiple different things, and a lot of the information that you get for these things is bullshit. Men are notoriously underserved. Where do you think, guys, if someone's here watching this or listening to this and resonates with it, where do you think he should go to actually get some help?
Oh, look, now that I obviously, I've been with you guys for a long time now, James, like, obviously everything, I was a little bit skeptical at the start, getting things underway with obviously where I was at with counselling, and I thought, okay, well, your posts and other people's posts, that I was viewing prior to actually signing up, You know, it was a period of time there where I was, you know, continually scrolling through your posts. I obviously joined, you know, your Facebook page and was just watching, you know, what goes on. And, you know, there was just that one message you wrote on Facebook one night. I was, you know, fucking feeling pretty shit. And, you know, I thought, fuck, man, like, this is me. This is fucking, like, I'm staring at myself in a post. And I thought, you know, if you know, what you're saying is the people that you treated and how you help them get along, well, then, you know, if this fucking works and I see the differences in other people and, you know, what posts you put up and, you know, how people are struggling with their life, you know, and how low I was feeling at the time, I thought, well, fuck, I've got nothing to lose, James. Everything to gain. And pretty much, mate, if I didn't jump on board and obviously write that message to you that night, there's a high chance, man, that fuck, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, so where are you going now? What lies ahead for you over the next 6 months? You've come from a stage where you mightn't have been here, and you've absolutely smashed through that. Your health's better. You look a shitload better than when we first started working with you. What's next for you?
Look, probably the biggest thing for me, James, is trying to find that inner happiness again. You know, trying to find things that I enjoy again. Whereas, you know, there was a good period of time there, like, you know, people say, oh, you know, come do this, I couldn't be fucked. You know, I had no energy, no motivation, was unhappy, like, to the point of fucking, you know, near on suicide, that I was that fucking low. And just, you know, just struggling with fucking, you know, being here, processing the crap that was going through my head. And now it's just like, you know, it's time's time, you know. I need to make change. I need to make change for myself personally. You know, within that change, the better person that I am will come back, be a better father. You know, I'll obviously have more personal time, quality time with my kids, not just a fucking frazzled out, burnt out, you know, dad that's not motivated to fucking, you know, push the kid on a swing or something like that, because I didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to fucking do nothing. But look, the biggest thing for me, James, and other people that are watching it, or if they do, is get help, man. Seek help, because if you try and battle on alone, you know, you fucking go to some pretty dark places, and, you know, just by, you know, having, you know, yourself, Christian, the network, the diet, the supplementation, you know, helping me get myself back from the fucking deep dark hole to sort of where we're at now. You know, I mean, I'm sort of probably just, you know, at that sort of line where I'm sort of cruising at the moment in a not a too bad place. But inner happiness is my big thing. And I said to Christian last night, after Christmas period, mate, back in the gym, back on the full supplement cycle, and we'll look at the routine and try and take it to the next step.
I love that, man. And guys, for any of you listening who resonated with what Troy said and doesn't want to be stuck there and actually wants a hand, what I'll do is in the comments section, I'll just drop down, in the description section, I'll drop in a link, and you're more than welcome to book in and have a chat with any of us free of charge, because I don't want you to, you know, have to suffer the bullshit that you had to suffer, Troy. And hopefully we can fast track that so that you can actually get out of that rut. But man, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and being so open. It takes a big set of cojones to go and to be able to talk about it. I really appreciate this, man, because I know there's a lot of dudes who have been through or are going through what you've been through. And it's awesome to see you coming out the other side. So thank you. I really appreciate your honesty.
You're welcome, James. Thanks, you know, the support you've given me, and, you know, your team that's, you know, helped me get to where I am today. You know, I've still got a long way to go. But, you know, if you'd sort of, you know, looked at me, you know, 18 months, 2 years ago, you know what I mean, I was a dead man walking.
Onwards and upwards. It's only the beginning right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, look, it's a lot of things, you know, the analysis of, you know, the mental side of things is, you know, you've got to stay focused. You know, when you suffer from, you know, anxiety and depression, it's very clouded. It's something that, you know, you struggle to have a thought process for yourself. You know, when you're in the workplace, you know, things are busy, you're tied up, and that fucking, you know, your problems get pushed aside. But, you know, when you're alone, it all comes back, and it comes back fucking hard. So anyone that's out there listening, you know, find what works for you. You know, find a good support network. I won't say don't go seek counselling or a psychologist. But my personal opinion, I left, like I said, 3 of the sessions where I was not satisfied. I didn't feel like I would, even if I went back more and more and more, I don't think it was the help that I needed. I needed the fucking whole box of dice, mate. I needed the basket, and pretty much, once I jumped on the JCF team, it was pretty much, you had every avenue for myself to help me move forward. There was the sleeping pattern, the supplementation, the gym program, switching off, the breathing techniques, taking some time out, just, that fuck it mentality of I'm going to go to the beach or I'm going to do this or I'm just going to go fucking walk about and switch off for a while. Like some people sort of think that, fuck, that's not going to do nothing. It's only going for a walk or go down the fucking beach. And to actually clear the mind and actually focus on something different, you will notice in a period of time that your thought processes, the way you feel, breathing, just, your general stress levels start to drop. But you've got to be dedicated. You have to be dedicated. If you're going half-assed, and like in obviously your questionnaires at the start, if you're not prepared to go in hard, well, then, it's probably an area where, some people can't be helped, but you have to be able to be prepared to help yourself, to take the next step. And the biggest thing for me was acknowledgement. Acknowledge that I had some fucking big demons going on inside. And, what we need to do to, work towards, getting rid of them, hopefully all together one day.
Bloody oath, man. Troy, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
No worries, James. Not a problem, man. I'm happy to do it anytime.
The pleasure as always. We'll get you back on another 6 months and see where you're at then.
Yeah, mate. Hopefully I've stacked on a bit of weight, mate, and got the physique looking something a bit better than what the rig is today.
And then maybe a bird on your shoulder. Who knows?
You never know, man. You never know.
We'll see.
Fucking single for 3 years, man. It's fucking, that's... I would say I haven't been thinking about it, but, at least the thought processes are starting to come back. See a nice bird and it's like, ooh. Whereas before we just like, yeah, fuck, whatever. It wasn't on my mind, man. I was too fucking absorbed with, just trying to stay alive, let alone, having a bird. So, but yeah, look, it's tough, man. It's those that are, thinking that there's no help and support out there, keep an open mind, jump on board with the JCF team.
Bloody appreciate that.
Put it this way, mate, it's kept me alive.
True that, man. It's getting you thriving, mate. Not just alive, you're thriving now. You're on that upward trajectory.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully some big results next year, mate. And because even with the the assessments, measuring myself and all that sort of stuff, I said to Christian, I said, look, I'm not one for selfies and fucking look at me in the mirror sort of thing. It's more for me. It's my personal thing, progress. For yourself and for Christian. Happy to send them forward, but I wasn't sort of in that position where Troy's gone from this and here he is now. Like sort of here's pictures of Troy's fucking body. It's just like that's not.
No one wants that, man.
Not sort of really myself.
There's something about like a transformation's cool and all, seeing someone lose weight. Yeah, like good on you. But the thing that I really care about is, all right, you don't want to kill yourself anymore. That's a big fucking tick. You want to go out and you want to meet a new partner. You're setting boundaries at work. You're being a real man. You're actually stepping up and becoming who you want to be. You can't put that in a photo, but the meaning behind that is 1,000 times better than a transformation. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, look, if people think, you're going to go jumping in the gym, you've got mental issues, stress, anxiety, whatever else, it does help. It does help alleviate that. But, you need to follow your heart, your mind, people like yourselves, the support network. Look, it doesn't happen overnight. So, any of your other clients, James, it does take time. But personally, if you're prepared to take the first step, it only gets better from, each time and day, obviously your consultation, your communication, supplementation, diet, training. But, your body's a machine. If you don't look after it, it'll fuck up. True that. Simple as that, You don't feed it right, it won't fucking perform. You don't look after it and give it what it needs, it'll crumble. And that's what happened to me, man. I wasn't looking after myself,
And, you know, with the life events and things like that, it was, you know, pretty much nearly put me in a fucking box.
Very close. And you're not the only one, man. But dude, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on and sharing this, dude. We'll wrap it up there, but I really appreciate your time and being so to the point. It's awesome.
Yeah, no worries, James. Awesome, bud. Thanks for your
Appreciate
help.
it, man. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay, James. Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate.
See you, bud.
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got something out of it and you want to learn more, click the link below or type in High Performance Conversations with James Cant and you'll be able to check out all the podcasts that we've done. We cover a stack of different topics, everything from getting your mojo back, overcoming anxiety, self-doubt, self-esteem, and learning from some of the industries and some of the world's top performers in both business and in health. Look forward to having you on there.